Chef Buck here, and today we're going to cook up some bean soup because we're coming up on the new year. And this is going to be our New Year black-eyed bean dish.
Peas,
black-eyed peas. What's the difference between peas and beans?
I just told you what to say.
I Googled it. There's no real difference. I mean, there's green peas and then there's beans. I mean, what about garbanzo beans? They're chickpeas. It doesn't matter because we're going to make the soup that I generally always make. And when I make that soup, I usually use this. I usually use 3 cans of beans, 2 cans of cannellini, and 1 can of black beans. That's what I usually use. But I'm going to magically transform this into...
Why wouldn't you
it's
replace
black-eyed
one of
peas.
the cannellinis? So you still
because
have
I like cannellini beans in my bean soup because cannellini beans are nice and creamy, and I'm not crazy about black-eyed peas.
Oh, you're gonna have a bad year.
Well, no, because I'm going to have these for New Year's. Because if you eat black-eyed peas on New Year's, it's good luck, according to Camera Girl.
The first meal of your New Year.
Oh, the first meal? So we're going to have this for breakfast?
Well, the first meal.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. But we're definitely going to have it on New Year's Day. But this is a super easy recipe. This is really all we're going to need is what's right here. Plus some seasoning. And you don't even need this, which is
the
neat.
Horseshoe?
Yeah, you don't even have to put a horseshoe in your soup. This is just a piece of andouille sausage. And I bought this. They were buy one, get one free.
Surprise.
So I bought a bunch of these. What I really like to use and what I used to always, because I made the soup all the time in Seattle. Because where I worked, I was working breakfast shift and we'd make a bunch of sausages. And then I could bring a few sausages home, you know, like the leftover sausages. And usually it wasn't that much sausage. It would just be 5 or 6 or 7 links or something. So this is a 12-ounce cut of sausage. So I think I'm going to use just about 1/3 of this for my bean recipe. So you don't need a lot of meat. You don't have to use meat at all. And if you do, you don't have to use a lot. So I'm going to use 4 onions this size. You know, I have, what would you say, above average size hands? Yeah.
Above average size ego.
Yeah, okay. I got regular size hands. So that's how big these onions are in regular size hands. But if you just got 2 medium onions, that's good. Or if you just got 1 big onion, I'm just jawing away with a bunch of yippity yap stuff. But let me just go ahead and chop these up because this is how I chop these up. Kind of into some smallish pieces.
You like rustic. You call it rustic pieces.
Well, for my soup, I'm not going to chop them up into too many different kinds of pieces because we're going to blend this a little bit at some point. So just give your onions a choppy chop just about that size. And then I'm going to use some garlic. And I'm just going to chop my garlic up into some little choppy chop sizes like this here. It's not, you know, this isn't super scientific. So there's no wrong way to do this. You know, you can't muck up soup, can you?
Yes, remember your baby corn soup
That's
story?
true. Wasn't my baby corn. That's
Okay.
true. You can muck up a soup by putting baby corn in it. I had a fella I worked with one time, and we got this can. It was like a can of baby corn soup, about this big.
No, just baby corn, not baby corn soup.
Yeah. It was just a can of baby corn, and he used that baby corn to make soup.
Ugh.
And you can't do anything with baby corn. All you can do with baby corn is
put it aside.
Is wrap it up as a gift and then gift it to somebody you don't like. That's the best use of baby corn.
I have to agree with you. I don't like the taste of baby corn.
But here, let's get over here. I'm going to go ahead and turn my skillet on. And I'm going to put it on medium-high heat to get it started. In fact, I'm going to turn the burner on under the skillet.
Wow.
And then I'm just going to throw a little bit of oil. Boom, boom, boom. And get that going. Why not that much? Just so I can cover the bottom of my pan. And while that oil's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and chop up the rest of this onion. Alright, I'm going to throw my little odds and ends in my little compost bucket. Boom, boom, boom. I got this for my mother-in-law. There's a link down below, an affiliate link if you want to check this out. And this thing works great. You can just fill this up, you know, and then go bury it in your compost bin at your leisure. But your mother doesn't empty this thing.
Of course she empties it.
No, she doesn't. She just fills it in and then forgets about it until it turns into an 8th grade science experiment.
That is not true.
I mean, I'm not criticizing your mother.
But
I'm just saying that she could do better. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so I think my oil is pretty much heated up. So let me go ahead and throw my chopped onion in here. Boom, you hear that sizzle? That's what you want when your onions hit the pan. And this is a lot of onion, but we need a lot of flavor to go with these beans. I'm going to hold off on the garlic for a minute.
Well, it cooks faster.
Well, yeah, it can, although it would get lost in all this onion anyway. Let me go ahead and stir this up, and then we'll give these onions a few minutes on their own. All right. So our onions have been going for a couple of minutes. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic in here now. And if you wanted to, you can add some hot pepper in here. You know, like some chopped jalapeno or any kind of pepper you like. Let's see, I got some chipotle. And chipotle is just smoked jalapeno, but it's a nice flavor.
Wow!
What is that? That's like a teaspoon? Yeah, but we got a lot of beans. So beans are going to absorb a lot of this heat. We'll put a little bit of salt in here, you know, salt to taste. And a little bit of black pepper too. So we got our nice oniony, flavorful base right here. Now let me go ahead and throw this sausage in here. Now like I said, I like to use a link breakfast sausage, but this was buy one, get one free, so I'm going to use this. But I'm going to go ahead and cut the casing off here a little bit. You know, because the casing is edible, but you know, sometimes that can be a little bit chewy. And I know this doesn't look very pretty, but I don't feel like I've really wasted too much of my sausage. And I think I'm going to appreciate not having all of that chewiness in my soup. And like I said, you don't have to put meat in this bean soup. But I think that little bit of meaty flavor, I don't know, for me it makes a big difference, although it's not a lot of meat. And I'm going to cut it up into some dinky-doo pieces, kind of almost like the onion. And we are going to blend this a little bit with a hand blender, so that will even blend some of this up too. Let's do the meat cam. There you go. So we'll stir this meat up in here. This sausage is already cooked. You know, if you were going to use a sausage that you needed to cook, you could just throw it in here at the very beginning and cook that before you add the onions. Now I'm going to add some broth. And I'm going to put in 32 ounces of broth, which is this whole container. But if you wanted to, you could do half broth and half water. And this is just chicken broth. You can use whatever kind of broth you like. We got some beef broth in the cabinet. But beef broth, to me, I don't know, it's always so overpowering. Chicken broth is mellow. So now I'm going to turn this all the way up to high and bring it up to a bubble. And while this is heating up, let me open up my cans of beans here. Now I think George Orwell said many decades ago that canned food, that tin food, was going to be one of the downfalls of civilization. And I'm not sure if that's the reason. I mean, we're definitely going down the tubes. And maybe it's these beans. I don't know.
Oh, my Lord.
I'm just saying what George said. But you can't beat the convenience. Ding! Now, like I said, if you're not making this for New Year's, then you can use black beans. Or you can use kidney beans. You can use whatever kind of beans you like. But I like the two-can cannellini combo with whatever the heck you want. And if you wanted to, you can drain these beans before you put them in your soup. You can go ahead and put them in a colander and wash them out. But I'm going to go ahead and put them with the canned stuff.
Because we're not going to be
juiciness.
around any other people tonight.
Yeah, Camber Girl always says that this juice makes you gassy.
More gassy.
And I'm sure she's right. This is what the black-eyed peas look like. They're beans. They call them peas, but they're beans. Beans.
But I think they're peas because of the way the pods look.
Well, we're not eating the pods.
I didn't say we were eating the pods.
So cannellini beans. And more cannellini beans.
Those are creamy.
I love using cannellini beans. You know, they're great beans for making a bean dip as well. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this up now and let it come to a bubble.
Okay.
Completely.
Already smells great.
All right. Still going?
Yeah.
All righty. Our soup is bubbling away. Now I am going to reduce it down to a simmer. And then I'm just going to cook it covered. I'm going to leave it a little bit uncovered so that the steam can escape. So I'll reduce it a little bit while it's bubbling away. Ooh, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and throw a bay leaf in here.
It's not.
For flavor flav.
It's not
Huh? Oh, it's
chili
not,
powder.
It's not chili powder. It's a bay leaf. We're just using a chili powder container. These are small leaves, so I'm going to use 2. I'm just going to throw these in here for luck. Boom. We'll stir those around. So now I'm just going to let this simmer away. Just mostly partially covered so some of that steam can escape. And we'll check on it in about 30 or 40 minutes and see what it looks like. See, lid? Beep, 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 beep. Look how clean everything is. So I took the opportunity while this was bubbling away to clean up my mess. And it's been going probably for about 45 minutes now. And I covered it up entirely. I put the lid back on it after about 20 minutes. So I didn't lose too much liquid. But it's been simmering away. As you can see, it's still pretty wet.
Oh, it smells
That's
so
all right,
great.
because I'm going to let it continue to bubble away, and I'm going to leave it uncovered. But I'm going to go ahead and fish my bay leaves out of here, because I don't want to blend those up. My mother used to always put bay leaves in spaghetti sauce when I was a kid. Can't really... I mean, bay leaves do have a certain taste. If you don't have bay leaves, don't worry about it. If you do, then throw them in there because it's good luck. It's just like the black-eyed peas. It'll bring you good luck.
You're just making stuff up.
All right, now I'm going to take my handy-dandy hand blender and I'm just going to give it a zoop, zoop, zoop. And you can blend it as much as you like.
Oh, but you want some texture.
Yeah, but you definitely want some texture. So I'm not going to blend it into oblivion. I'm just going to give it a little blendy blend so that some of the beans will creamy this up and thicken it up. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do for right now. And then I'm just going to let it continue to simmer away until it gets to the consistency that I'm happy with.
But it's healthier. You don't have to add cream or milk. If you don't
Well, I'm probably going to add a little bit of half and half at the end.
Woo!
We'll see, because I like that extra creaminess. But let
My
me go
baby
ahead.
loves us.
Let me go ahead and give a taste test here.
Don't burn yourself.
That's good. That's super duper. I added a little bit of salt to it earlier, which I shouldn't have because that was risky. Because the broth has lots of salt, and I put a lot of salt in there. And the beans, the canned beans, probably have salt in them, depending on what beans you're going to get. So you want to be pretty mindful of adding salt in here. But this is actually delicious because it does have a lot of salt in it. Usually I don't put that much salt in here. But, you know, my mother-in-law is going to eat this too. She's from Georgia. I mean, she's got a salt lick next to her television. Because that's how they do it in the South, you know. They got to be able to lick their lick, you know, while they're watching their fishing show. She's going to get mad at me for saying that because she actually watches PBS. Because she's one of them snobby Georgians.
She's not a snob. She just likes what she likes.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say to her face, but...
You don't think she ever watches this?
Oh, what? But now I'm just going to go ahead and let this bubble away and cook down to the consistency that I like. And then it'll almost be done. But when it thickens up, we'll look at it one last time. Beep, 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 beep. Alrighty, so it has been simmering away for about 15 minutes. Uncovered. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off because I think this is going to be it. That's plenty thick enough. So depending on how much water or broth you put in here, you can just let it cook down, or you can just let it cook uncovered and cook down to the consistency that you like.
Oh, it smells delicious.
And it's going to thicken up a little bit as it cools down too. I'm going to go ahead and get it off the heat. And that's pretty much all there is to this recipe, except for the fact that it looks kind of sad. Now this tastes delicious, just like this. But I always like to throw a little bit of parsley in here. It's optional. Kale. Yeah. You know, if you're a camping girl, you can throw kale in there. And kale would be fine. But parsley is a little more neutral than kale. But just adding a little bit of parsley will brighten it up and make it a lot less blah looking. Usually I cut it into some even dinkier pieces than this, but I forgot. And I went ahead and reserved a couple little pieces too to serve on my on top of the soup, so it'll look good. But ideally, you know, you don't eat this right away. It's going to taste fantastic right now, but it will taste even better as time goes by. Well, let's see. I'll spoon a little bit out of here so we can take a gander at it. Boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
And you see, even though I ran the immersion blender in there, it's still got lots of hunks and chunks of meat and bean. So you can blend it up to whatever consistency you like. But just running the blender in there just a wee little bit will give it a nice creaminess that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I'll throw a couple of little pieces of fresh parsley on there. And then that's it. Now, what I used to do, you know, every time I used to make this in the past, I would put a little bit of half and half in here. You know, you could put a little splash of half and half, and that'll help to make it creamy, and it'll lighten up the color a little bit if it looks too dark. Because when I do this with black beans, sometimes it looks kind of dark and murky. It's delicious, but I don't know, it sort of doesn't look as nice as this. Usually if I do it with black beans, it's too dark, and then I'll add a little bit of cream in there, and that'll lighten it up. But using the black-eyed peas, it already looks light enough, so I'm not going to add any half and half to this. But, you know, if I had added more peppers in here, and if I had added more chipotle and made it too spicy, you know, I could add a little bit of half and half in there too, and that'll help to counteract some of the heat. So that's something to think about if you accidentally make it too spicy.
But you just want to add like 1/8 of a cup at a time.
1/8 of a cup of what?
Of the cream. Because
oh yeah,
you don't want
half,
it
half.
overwhelmed.
Yeah. Just a wee little bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much at all when you're adding half and half. Just a super simple, delicious soup. And I didn't put a lot of meat in here. You saw that. I put about 4 ounces of sausage. And it does take a lot. You know, part of me, I thought about throwing that whole sausage in there just because I was opening it up. But I'm glad I didn't, because this is plenty enough. Otherwise, it'd be a meat soup and not a bean soup. But I'm going to go ahead and have a bowl of this tonight. And then we'll have plenty enough left over so that we can get up on a New Year's Day and have a bowl of soup for breakfast, so that we'll have some good luck for the rest of the year.
You can just sleep in. That's your excuse to sleep in.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
Be on your own schedule. Supposedly, whatever you do on New Year's Day is what you'll do the rest of the year.
I guess we could exercise. But that's it. If you want to check out the recipe, there'll be a link down below, and you can go over to myfoodchannel.com. Check out the written recipe and all of our recipes over there. I'll have links to other things down below, including our Patreon and some Amazon links and whatnot, so that we can make the big bucks. We really appreciate all the support and watching the videos, thumbs up, sharing, and blah, blah, blah. And we hope you have a happy new year, or at least a great start to it. And we'll see you next weekend and lots of weekends ahead. Adios! That was long, wasn't it?
Yes.